This video will give you some tips on a virtual panel. The review panel will take place Monday through Friday. However, panels may last into the following week as necessary. Honorarium for virtual panels has been increased by $50 a day to help offset some additional expenses. The total honorarium is $358 per day for panel members. We're going to conduct the review using video conferencing of Google Meet. You're probably familiar with virtual meetings at this point, but a reminder is to have a good connection in your office or home or wherever you're going to be dialing in from, and using a headset, not a speakerphone or the speakers on your computer. Voting will be done in the Google Meet chat feature. The evaluations will be written in Google Docs, not Word. We've found that this works very well for collaborative writing when everyone follows some guidelines, which we'll go through. You should have a personal login to use exclusively for this review. If not, tell the NRES point of contact immediately so we can get that for you. Each panel has their own Google folder on Google Drive, which has a variety of resources and is where you will be working collaboratively. Time zone conflicts may arise, like most virtual panels, and we ask for everyone to communicate their availability with their panel chair, who will set up a schedule ahead of time. If you're comfortable, share your preferred contact info in case of a drop connection and so that the other panelists can call you back after conflicts or other reasons why you've had to step away. If you like, also feel free to schedule a happy hour or a non-working lunch or cookie breaks with your panel. Getting to know each other is a big part of serving on a panel, and we encourage you to take some time to do so. Here's some tips about using Google Meet. Google Meet has many ways to arrange the screen and videos. We suggest you use the tile view for Brady Bunch style display. You can share a screen. For example, the executive secretary can share their notes while typing or share reviews while discussing. You can also log into those documents individually in the Google Drive and follow along that way if you prefer to see if you prefer to see it that way. On a Mac, we recommend you use Chrome rather than Safari or Firefox to use Google Meet. The video quality appears to be much better and screen sharing works better. Audio will work over either the computer or a phone line, whichever you have a headset for. You can mute anybody, but you can only unmute yourself. And there's a couple shortcuts to mute and unmute. The chat sidebar in Google Meet and Google Docs is useful, but it doesn't keep its history, and there's no direct messages. So chat is lost when you reload the page, and you don't have a way to communicate with specific individuals. You can use chat.google.com for a better chat that fixes all of these problems. Please do so using your NRES login. All right, some steps on how to write collaboratively. The executive secretary is going to take notes in a blank file that's already been generated in Google Drive. The executive secretary can copy and paste any of the compiled individual evaluation text, and they'll want to use editing mode as they take the notes. We want this file to be owned by NASA personnel in Google Drive and not to be overwritten during development of the panel evaluation, which is why we have these steps in place. For the panel eval, the primary will take the notes file and create a panel evaluation. A blank panel evaluation will be available, and you can copy and paste whatever you need from the notes or compiled evaluations or canned language into that. Whenever you're first generating this, you'll want to use editing mode, and you'll want to update the title of rename the file name with your initials. While the primary will do the initial writing in editing mode, all following edits should be done in suggesting mode and accepted by the person that identified the needs for the edits in the first place. The secondary, and eventually the panel chair and program officer, will make edits in suggesting mode, just like track changes in Word. The primary will approve or reject these changes. As you're reading an evaluation, if you want to make a comment, you can use the comment button and send that back to the primary. The primary will see the comment, probably make changes in the text to address it in suggesting mode, and then use the reply button on the comment to say what they did. If the person who originally made the comment, the secondary, the panel chair, or the program officer, approves of the way that their comment has been handled, they'll resolve the comment. The primary should never resolve a comment from someone else. Only the person who started it should resolve. There are 4 things you should always do when you start working in the review form on Google Docs. The first is to update the tracking sheet. There's a how-to video on how to use the tracking sheet, but this is how we'll track the progress of all of the panel evaluations. You'll want to rename the file so it contains your initials after the underscore at the end of the file name. You want to make sure you're in suggesting mode so that you're not in editing mode and your edits are hard to find. And you want to turn off notifications so that way you don't get several emails and others don't get several emails as you make comments and edits. In Google Docs, there's also 4 things you should never do. You should never copy the evaluation. You should never move the evaluation. You should never delete the evaluation. And you should never hit the resolve button to address comments made by someone else. Rather, please reply to the comments and let the person who started the comment thread resolve it. One important note, sometimes you may need to refresh your browser window to see the latest version of a file or list of files. You may get a warning that tells you that your changes may not be saved. This is likely because you have an open comment that you have not selected the reply button on. If you don't do this, that comment will be lost. So please double check that you've hit the reply button. In Google Drive, you'll find a variety of files. There's one folder per proposal, which will have the blank eval, the compiled and individual reviews from all of the panelists and external reviewers, notes for the exec sec to take notes in, and a PDF of the proposal. The executive secretary will also have a folder where they can take attendance and take notes, take a record of the score in the score sheet. There's a panel information folder that has all of the plenary presentations, including this file, as well as lists of assignments, contact info, and a schedule. There's a NASA resources folder, which has things like the call for proposals, the proposer's handbook, and additional reference documents. You'll also find links to videos, including the interrupting bias video. The final evaluations folder is where we will put all of the final evaluations. The program officer will be the person to move the files here, and the primary will confirm that the correct file is there. There's also a folder where you can put your kickoff materials as you work on that as a team, and the tracking sheet where we'll keep track of the progress of all of the panel evals. Please note there are how-to videos on how to use the score sheet and the tracking sheet. Thanks.